Hello and welcome to Attacking Third. We are live on YouTube with a news and notes episode for everyone. So make sure to subscribe to us, like this video, and drop all of your thoughts in the chat about everything that's been happening in the wonderful world of women's soccer. Let's go. Hello, everyone, and welcome into Attacking Third. I'm Sandra Herrera, lead NWSL writer for CBS Sports, joined today, as always, by my colleague and co-host Lisa Roman, broadcaster and analyst for CBS Sports. On today's show, we're chatting all things news and notes. So before we take a deep dive into everything that's been dropping this week, a quick reminder: the NWSL season kicks off on Saturday, March 25th on Paramount Plus, and we've got all the content for you. We've got all the recaps, all the previews, and we're going to have them all season long, plus exclusive player interviews. So subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on your favorite podcast platform, and you can follow us all across social media at Attacking Third. And just to let you all know, Paramount Plus is your home for the 2023 NWSL season. You can watch live games, recaps, and more. And Paramount Plus is giving a 1 free month to kickstart your NWSL season. So make sure to use the promo code NWSL 2023 for 1 free month of Paramount Plus. We're in it. We're in it. Lisa, good morning. Hello. How are you?
Good morning. It's a great morning because what are we? T-minus 3 days until the start of the season. It is about time. Everyone is gearing up. We're getting rosters. Oh, there's so much happening, so many moving pieces. We're still getting kits. Jerseys are dropping these next couple of days. It is very exciting. I'm thrilled to be here with you. This is our last news and notes before things get rolling in the NWSL, and then all the news and notes changes during the season. It's a very different vibe, but I'm, as always, Bud, I'm just happy to be here chatting with you. How are you this morning?
I'm I'm good. I woke up and I said, that's one more sleep that we could put behind us till we get to the NWSL
Well,
regular
you
season.
probably woke up and said that yesterday too. I'm putting you on blast. Yesterday
I
morning,
did.
Sandra was like, "It's 10 o'clock. Are we going live?" And I was like, "No, it's Tuesday. We go live on Wednesday."
I'm so plugged in right now for NWSL returning. And I yeah, definitely put me on blast because I woke up like ready to hop on A3
I
and
like it.
see everybody and like go live and talk about everything, because it's a state of mind. Being live is a state of mind, and that's that's how we
Staying
do things.
live.
That's how we do things at A3. But listen, you're hyped, I'm hyped. Every day that goes by, we're just a little bit closer to that first
Mhm.
kickoff. And of course, in light of the regular season coming up so quickly, we got to talk about the rosters being finalized in NWSL. So all 12 clubs putting out their respective statements and their rosters, the set of players and string of players that they are going to run with, at least in the first part, first half of this season. There's a lot of different things that come into play, I think, when you're looking at these clubs and how they're finalizing rosters. We were also looking a little bit at the rules, which we'll chat a bit about in this episode as well too. But some minor differences in terms of the clubs putting out their rosters, because I know when we were looking at some of these releases, we were like, gosh, like some of these clubs have uh some smaller amounts of players versus larger numbers on their rosters. So I believe it's a minimum of 22 players with a maximum of 22, and 4 supplemental players can be utilized and count towards the actual rosters. So there's examples of like, hey, you can have 26, but 22 of those are going to actually be senior players, and maybe
Mhm.
4 of those players are more supplemental type of players. So we're seeing, I think, across these rosters, maybe more the lower number for players on them, but I think it's
I would
within
say,
them.
yeah. I would say it's
Yeah.
a lower number just, compared to kind of what we've been seeing, especially throughout the preseason roster. We were getting like 33, 34, 36.
Oh yeah, they had to whittle it down for sure.
Yeah.
It's interesting though, because I think even within some of these, some of the roster releases with the smaller number of players on there, within some of them, you could go through the rosters and see how there are still some clubs who are saying, hey, like we've extended a contract to player A, B, or C. And just to notify and have that in within the release, like maybe there's still some news to come from some clubs with players who are still in the process of maybe going, thumbing through their contracts and, before they sign. One of the things that stood out for us, though, when we were looking throughout some of these finalized rosters was out of Gotham FC. We noted that within their release, they said that Sinead Farrelly is a midfielder who is making her return to the league, because they noted within the release that they're in the process of finalizing a contract with Farrelly.
Yes, I think this is massive, honestly, because this is a player that in her 30s, I believe Sinead's about 33 years old. And the last time she played in the NWSL was in 2015, and that was for Portland Thorns. And then she came forward with her accusations and everything that and mistreatment and abuse and misconduct that she faced during her time playing in the NWSL in 2021. And now that it's 2023, she's turned that page. She's wants to rejoin the league. She wants to play, and she joined Gotham in early February as a non-roster invite, and went through their preseason with them. And now Gotham has extended a contract, and they're looking to just finalize that contract with Farrelly because she's been in camp. And not only did the club put it out there, but they put her name right on there saying that, hey, we're waiting for this to come, waiting for this roster announcement and the contract to be finalized. And then there's going to be an official announcement about her role and her position on the team as a midfielder. And I know that during the preseason for Gotham, they played a number of preseason friendlies and matches, and some of them were harder to watch than others. But Sinead Farrelly getting minutes, getting time, scoring a goal in one of those preseason matches. It was fun to see those clips on Twitter and social media circulating around. But the rosters, when they drop, there's so many like little Easter eggs to look for and find. Yeah. And I just appreciate Gotham being like, hello, heads up, this player is getting a contract.
This is coming. I think that's it's the phrasing, right? The word that we want to point out to and note specifically. The phrasing is it's finalizing a contract. So for me, that's indicative that Farrelly is going to be part of Gotham's 2023 roster.
And that roster, and when you look at like the midfield unit for Gotham that they've Kawasumi, Ali Long, Christy Mewis, Victoria Pickett, Yasmin Ryan, Delaney Sheehan, McCall Zerboni, and then you add in a Sinead Farley in that group. Like, I like this. I like kind of what's happening at Gotham. I think that it's a bit of a resurgence for this team, and especially like a player like Sinead, who's coming back into the fold, looking to get back into the mix of the NWSL. And I agree. I think the way the phrasing had it, they just were waiting for the signature, waiting for that John Hancock, and then she's going to be listed on the roster. But there's a lot to kind of break down and be excited about for all these teams.
Yeah, we want to point out a little bit of a history-making signing. We're chuckling about it because I feel like with the new under 18 mechanism that exists in NWSL, we're actually just seeing the first of perhaps many of these to come down in the pipeline. But San Diego Wave announcing that they have signed 15-year-old San Diego native Melanie Barcenas. So officially the youngest player in NWSL history to sign a professional contract, just eclipsing the record that was set just a week ago, it feels like, by Chloe Ricketts with Washington Spirit. Officially the youngest player. I believe it's 15 years and 138 days, or right around there, that number there. But this is quite the story. It is a local talent, grew up playing club soccer with San Diego Surf Soccer, has trained with the Wave already, and just maybe it just sort of feels like this was a signing that was going to happen at some point in time sooner or later, but it's here now. And I do appreciate in the release and in the announcement of everything. Casey Stoney talking about how excited they are as well to sign this player, but still continue to work with them as they're a very young player, and want to sort of help her, yes, navigate professional career while still having the normalcy of being a young teenager.
Yes, I think that's the balance that we've seen with someone like an Alyssa Thompson, who's at Angel City, or Chloe Ricketts. It's finding that balance, and that's what. Although there is the new mechanism in place for players under the age of 18 to play in the league and to sign, there are still so many factors that are protecting these players, like the parent and guardian as well as the player have to give consent. They have to live at home. They can't be traded. They can't be waived. Their contract runs through their 18th birthday. There's like so many different factors to protect these young athletes. But I really like how San Diego did this, because they not only announced this player and they had her in the kit, and she's been playing with preseason. So they had game footage of her actually during preseason playing, but they got Mel to do media and talk a little bit. So not only did fans of the Wave get to hear about this player being signed and maybe see a clip or two of her being played, but they got to hear directly from her. And she is very young. She is very young. It's so cool to see, honestly. I mean, I'm excited to see like her on the pitch and kind of how things shake out that way, but to kind of hear her in these like little social media takeovers or in the media press conference, like she has this air of maturity about her for sure. I mean, she's being put in the spotlight. She's a professional player at the age of 15, but there's also something about her that's like, you are 15, like you are so young. You are so young. And she has a little bit of that youngness in her still. And like, it's cute to see, frankly it is, but I am excited about it. And I also love that San Diego put out that they're calling her Mel B. Like, if we are doing a throwback to the Spice Girls, Mel B, Mel doesn't even know who the Spice Girls are. She's 15 and we're calling her Mel B. I'm all about it.
No, I'm here for it. You're looking at some of the imaging and sort of the assets that come out in an announcement like this, and you're just like, gosh, player is so young. And I'm excited to see more from Barcenas, and I'm sure there's a whole development plan in place for when and where and how they want to utilize her. But congratulations to the young player signing her first ever professional contract. But in terms of the other roster tidbits that we wanted to highlight, we're a little curious about Reign side of things. Chicago Red Stars, putting in their notes as well that they have some contracts in place with other players. But we didn't see Tobin Heath on OL Reign's roster, and we've seen on social media and things like that out in LA. So maybe there was some curiosity piquing whether or not there would be ties there to Angel City, but we haven't seen Tobin Heath on either of these rosters for
Where is Tobin Heath?
And we're just wondering, what's going on. It's World Cup year. We've heard from Andonovski in media availabilities, say that this is a player where it's cutting it close to the timeline in the build up to the World Cup, and hopefully they get to see more out of Heath, kind of post surgery. Last we got an update, Tobin Heath put on her socials that she was unfortunately had to undergo a surgical procedure. So we'll see. I think NWSL is more fun when Tobin Heath is around. and in it. So that's definitely something we got to try and keep our eye on. But Chicago Red Stars also in their announcement talking about Shayna Matthews. This is a player that they have extended a contract to, and someone who might be part of Chicago's attacking core in 2023. So I think at this point, when we're looking at the rosters, and if there are those teams that maybe have on the lower end of the number of players on the roster, that there's room to add more, right? But I think at this point, it's almost like if you're going to add players to your roster, maybe the concept is to ensure that you get players at this point who have some
Yeah.
professional experience in NWSL and roll with them moving forward.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it, because there is a level of understanding that you're going to be missing a significant number of players this year due to a World Cup year. And because of that, you need depth on your roster. And when you're looking between someone that's been in the league for 7 or 8 years versus someone that has been in the league for 1 year and maybe has like 100 minutes under their belt, you're going to go with the player that's been in the league for 7 or 8 years, that's played in a number of different squads and varieties. So that player is more likely to shift in, and that's someone like a Shayna Matthews. I think it's a good signing for Chicago, honestly, to get some depth in a player like this. I'm not sure how much we'll see of Matthews to start the year, but I imagine throughout Challenge Cup we'll see Matthews, and we'll see her get minutes and play and continue to contribute on the pitch. But it's a tough year. It is a really tough year for clubs, for GMs and coaches to make sure their roster is as stacked as it possibly can be while also adding depth.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to be a player this year because I mean, if you're one of the top talents on your club team and you're going to the World Cup internationally, you're also then going to miss a big chunk of your regular season
Yeah.
and your Challenge Cup season with your club team, and that's disheartening.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, if you're a player that is going to start for your club team but isn't going to play internationally, then you have to get used to playing with a whole different group of players during that window when they're gone. And then likewise, if you're someone that's maybe a bit deeper on the roster bench and you're going to ride that bench a little bit at the start of the season, you then have to be able to turn it on, prove yourself, and get in that starting lineup and get minutes when those players are gone. It's really just like an balanced year for everyone. It's a little bit of chaos everywhere. It causes a little bit more headaches. But hey, that's the beauty of this game and the beauty
Yeah.
of a World Cup
It
year.
it could lead to a little bit of disjointedness for sure. I
Yeah.
mean, Shayna Matthews is going to be one of those players. We could see her gone with Jamaica for the World Cup, and see how Chicago has to navigate that absence, as well as so many others for other teams across the league. But we're getting closer to this regular season, and we're already starting to hear a lot of cool things for opening weekend. Shout out to San Diego once more. The home opener is currently at 23,500 tickets and counting. They expect to still
Woo.
sell some more tickets and have more fans in the turnstiles for their game against Chicago Red Stars this opening weekend. And Alex Morgan making a very cool announcement about a foundation. And we're excited and wanted to chat about that a little bit here on Attacking Third, launching the Alex Morgan Foundation, a nonprofit initiative focused on equity and opportunity on the field and off. They said, join us as we work to build a confident path forward.
Yeah, that seems to be kind of the motto of this Alex Morgan Foundation, a confident path forward. Their biggest impact focus being equity in sports, opportunities for girls, and support for moms. Clearly something that Alex Morgan has a lot of experience in herself as a mom, as a female playing soccer professionally. And I think something pretty cool about this foundation, I mean, there's a lot of cool things about this, but the fact that Alex Morgan decided to start this in San Diego, right? We know when the Wave became an expansion side and Alex Morgan was their first big player, as a huge name that she is, but it was also a big impact that Alex Morgan was going home to San Diego, where she wanted to play and where she wanted to be. So I think being back in her hometown to not only play the professional game that she loves, but to make a change. And that's where she's starting. That's where the Alex Morgan Foundation is going to kickstart itself, committing to making a positive impact in the lives of girls and women in San Diego County. That's where they're starting. And then as this foundation grows, they're going to look to expand it to nationally, internationally, just continue the snowball effect of this foundation. But pretty cool. Love to see players making changes, impact outside of just scoring goals and breaking records on the pitch.
Yeah, equity in sports, opportunities for girls, support for moms. I think that's kind of cool. We'll have to keep an eye on it and see what else comes out of the Alex Morgan Foundation. But we've got a little bit more to chat about before we take a quick break. We want to talk about more kit fashion.
Woo!
League. Racing Louisville, breaking news right as we're live, of course. The Houndstooth kit. Look at that. Purple, black hues. You love to see it. They just dropped their 2023 Houndstooth kit, and it is an homage to Secretariat's owner, Penny Shannery, 50 years after her Colts' iconic Triple Crown run. So I love that. Leaning into racing's history. Yeah. What do you think, Lisa? It's got the purple and black kind of houndstooth pattern. I like the mint. I like the mint crest on this one. I think that's a nice touch.
I do too. I do really like the mint crest. There's something about this pattern that I am really digging for Racing Louisville. For those that are just listening, it's like oh gosh, I'm not going to be able to describe this. Like a checkered pattern. I think that's a good way to put it. I don't even know what that is, but it's very cool. They talk about in the Racing Louisville talks about in the release how it's a celebration of pioneering women. It's a midnight violet and lavender colors in the pattern. It's a houndstooth pattern. Oh my gosh, I'm reading that in the press release. Yeah, that's the pattern. I did not know what that was. I'm not going to lie. I was like, what is houndstooth? This is live for you people. I was like, what's happening here? I think it's very cool. I do that. So I was like, what's going to happen when they're playing at home? But because of primary uniform for 2023, this will be it. But when it clashes with other teams that they play, there's a number of other dark colored teams in this league. Racing Louisville will wear their away mint kit that was revealed in 2022 when this clashes with other jerseys. But I really like it. It's very simple. I like the mint crest as well on the shorts and on the kit. But otherwise, like black shorts, black socks. I like it. Sharp.
Yeah, they're definitely not like wearing this when they go play Orlando, right? Like that's not going to be this. But yeah, I like it. I think the pattern is cool. I like the meaning behind it, and I really do like both of the mint crest on the jersey and on the shorts as well. Like it's a cool kind of head to toe kind of vibe, and I like all the photos that they're dropping. It looks like they're kind of standing around some horses and things like that. So, so that's very 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 cool.
Like in stables for this photo shoot. That's awesome because hey, why not lean into everything like secretariats and that's you're Racing Louisville. Play into that all day.
Yeah, 100%. You love to see it. We love to chat about kit fashion. We're going to chat a bit more about some league news, so stick with us after a quick break.
Phenomenal! Absolutely magisterial here!
Stay hyped, stay amped, stay with the energy because the regular season is kicking off soon. The league unveiling in a launch video, a We Play Here, They Play Here, We Play Here series coming up this season. Jessica Berman teasing it a little bit in her presser that she held earlier on Monday with the media. This launch video had me so excited, even more than I already was for this upcoming season. We got to see different videos in English, Spanish, Portuguese, narrated by NWSL players. We heard Mitch Purse, we heard Maria Sanchez, we heard Tobin. It was very, very cool start to promote the season.
It was very cool. I think that what the league is doing in trying to amplify themselves and give the league its due diligence for how it wants to be recognized as one of the best leagues in the world. And you have to start doing that like from within. And I think now that we're seeing that with this launch video in the NWSL and not only putting it out in English, but really trying to capitalize on the identity of the players that are in this league and then those fan bases that also want to be part of this league and maybe haven't felt as included before because everything's been in English. So in addition to the launch video coming out in English, Spanish, and Portuguese, the NWSL Twitter also promoted these individual videos in those respective languages. So the fans knew exactly what was coming for them, the promotion and the hype. And then when they clicked on the video, they could understand what was being said, whether it was in English by forward of Gotham, Midge Purse, or in Spanish by Houston forward Maria Sanchez, or by Casey midfielder Dabinha in Portuguese. I think it's really, really special. That's freaking cool that the league did that. Like, that's how you grow the league. That's how you get your fan bases that are living in Brazil and in Mexico to rally behind their players that they know and cheer for on their national team, and support them in the NWSL. This is literally the definition of growing the game.
I love it because of how they made their announcement for certain international viewing platforms as well.
Mhm.
Right? Where they announced that deal with TSM for Canadian viewers, and they've mentioned in some other broadcast details that international viewers are going to be able to watch matches just right on .com. So
Yeah.
NWSLsoccer.com. So I think it's very cool that they're trying to, hype up the league this year in what's a World Cup year, and have so many of their players, both American, Mexican, Brazilian, to sort of get behind narrating these videos, and they're going to have more drop along the way, which I'm very excited about. So it's cool because it's going to have it's all the same video, essentially the same script, right, but just in different languages. And I think that's very excited, so you can get hyped internationally.
And like the fact that they had the players narrate it, like A+. A+ on that front. There's no need to have talent do that, or someone quote unquote famous that like isn't in the league. Like, you know what I mean? We see that a lot with franchises and with what they're doing. I know like when the Eagles were on their Super Bowl run at the end of this last year, Bradley Cooper, he narrates a lot because he's from Philly. He's a big fan, but like it's cooler when the players are doing it themselves. That's awesome.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, don't hire Bradley Cooper to read to read this
No.
script.
We wanna hear from Jason Kelsey. We wanna hear from Midge Purse. We wanna
That's
hear
right.
from Maria Sanchez. Exactly.
100%. We also heard from Jessica Berman. That's called the transition, folks. Thanks, Lisa, for that setup. Commissioner Jessica Berman holding a press conference with media on Monday, March 20th. Talking, a little bit of a state of the league, just checking in before the regular season kicks off. And listen, as someone who sat in on it, it was a lengthy one, but I really appreciate the commissioner giving her time. It was an hour, I think, clocked in exactly, maybe a little bit over. Well, I can't really recall just because of how long it was, but it was, from my understanding, it was great that they got to so many questions, and that the commissioner was willing to sort of make sure that she got to each one. But a couple of key points, to maybe talk about, because there's a lot that can be said over the course of that amount of time. But I think the biggest one that stands out it was really in her opening remarks in welcoming in the media was the discussion of the ticket bump, the ticket hold bump this year, a 20% increase in season ticket holders from last year. That's massive. She said, I've got it written up for you all on .com in case you're looking for some key takeaways, but she said that they're up in 20% in season ticket holders on a league-wide basis. And we've already surpassed the number of sales for opening weekend, and we still have 5 days to go. So hopefully, with all the excitement coming out of the press conference and everything this week, that they'll just continue over the next 5 to 6 days, and they are looking to break some records. So exciting time for people
Very,
to
very
get tickets
exciting.
and go to games.
Go to games, buy tickets, support your clubs, all the things. If you're in San Diego, break more records there. They're like constantly smashing the records. But in this Jess Berman, Commissioner Berman presser, I was able to sit in on it too. Definitely go read Sandra's piece on CBSSports.com. She breaks down everything that was said in the conference, and all the questions that were asked by the great media members to kind of open up the league a little bit more. But one thing that's super cool that we've known about for a little bit, but it's actually happening, and I think it's happening on schedule, which is pretty cool. I mean, maybe there was a low bar for me there, but VAR is being implemented into the league and into NWSL, and it is happening opening weekend, the very first game. It's already been introduced, right? So there's so many different like trickle downs effect of VAR that a lot of people don't understand. The stadiums have to be equipped for VAR. They have to have more cameras. There's a minimum of 6 cameras now at every single stadium that these teams will play in. So that's kind of the first step that has to happen. You then have to hire an additional different set and an additional set of referees to be at those games and to work those games, to also train the referees at those games. You also have to train the broadcasters into VAR, how it works, what the rules of it are, how to communicate that to the listeners at home. And then you have to practice it. And throughout the preseason games that have been happening at these respective stadiums in the league around the country, there has been VAR. They have been implementing it during these preseason games. They have been practicing it for the referees, for the broadcasters, for the teams to kind of get used to as well. And it's like a well-oiled machine, and they're ready to get going on Saturday, March 25th when the league kicks off. And if you're at a game, look for it on the field. And if you're at home, you can watch it all on Paramount Plus and look for the VAR symbols, because there's VAR in the league.
Yeah, I love that. It's cool to sort of know, like, okay, it's official. It's coming week 1 in the league. They're very excited about it. It was cool to, even when they announced it, this was like she had a similar press conference like mid-season last year and said, hey, like, we want to add more cameras, and alluding to the fact that they want to get VAR into the league. But now they've implemented those cameras. They've practiced, they've utilized them during preseason, and it's coming week 1, and they're very excited about kind of leading the way in that initiative, like that they're going to be the first women's domestic league to go ahead and to sort of have that as a reoccurring thing every match week for NWSL. I know VAR's been utilized in the women's game before, like it was introduced at the World Cup. And I think it's been utilized in like some major title games as well. But we haven't seen it used week to week to week to week, I think, for over the course of a full regular season before.
Yeah, this will be the first ever women's professional league to use VAR for the professional game and for every single game, not just the playoffs or not just the championship, every single regular season game, every game.
And I like that she tied it to essentially overall league investment, because that was a big thing that came out of the press conference as well. So it was cool to hear her tie something like VAR to general league and investment. Talking about her listening tour, right? We heard so much about that in her first year as commissioner, and tying that and connecting that to production value overall, because she said on her listening tour that was actually a point of concern, surprisingly to her, when she was talking to players on this listening tour, that one of the biggest things that she heard from players was about production value, and that the league absolutely needs to ensure that they are investing in production areas so that fans can get a great product on the field and see all the great athletes and their athleticism on match days. So it was cool to sort of hear her tie that all in together, because it's not just like one separate point, one other separate bullet point. Things are often just sort of tied together. So it was a great press conference, and a lot of cool things to come out of it. So hopefully everybody gets caught up on what the commissioner had to say, which also included talking about league rules a little bit. We're going to chat about that for everyone as well right now too. We're talking about player salary cap, what that includes, what it means. Let's talk some dollar bills, Lisa. You're muted, buddy. I can't hear you.
I'm sorry, I was coughing over here. Yeah, dollar bill is excited to kind of break this down for everyone because we get a lot of questions, you and I, on Attacking Third, whether it's in the chat or on Twitter or in Apple Podcast reviews about this. So if you have questions, drop them to us in the chat, drop them to us on Apple Podcasts, leave us a 5-star review with a question. We get to answer them, especially when the league breaks it all down for us, because this is all about the numbers, right? So on the rosters between 22 and 26 players rosters for the 2023 season, there is a salary cap. There's a minimum salary for these teams, $1 million, 975,000 for the salary minimum, and the salary cap, 1,375,000 plus $600,000 in allocation money. And that allocation money can be carried over, right, from 2022. Allocation money can be carried into 2023. So this is a 25% increase from 2022 and what the league was doing. But allocation money, it's a little confusing for the people. Sandra, can you break it down for them, please?
Yeah, I love money. Big fan of it. Would love to have more of it. I think we all would in some capacity. But essentially, allocation money is, I guess, technically still a relatively new concept in NWSL because it was only introduced in 2019. And allocation money is essentially a financial credit. So teams can purchase within specific limits that are defined by the league every year, or they can acquire allocation money from another team through a transaction. So whether that's a sign and trade or general trade, and allocation money can be used to reduce the salary cap or impact of a player's salary, pay a transfer fee, a loan fee when they're acquiring a player outside of the league, or trade it to another team. So we heard a little bit about that in the offseason. We saw Racing Louisville with a sort of a transfer and sign and load with Uchenna Canoe and O'Reilly Parker and Liga MX Feminil. So we're starting to see a little bit more of that now as allocation money. I think teams are getting a little bit more comfortable with having that as that extra piece to utilize within certain deals. So
It's basically like a loophole for the salary cap. Essentially, it's giving teams more money to allocate towards the players, so they don't have to dig into their salary cap, because each team's their minimum at $1.9 million to spend on their roster isn't that much. It's not like that much when we're talking about how these players should be paid, right? I mean, in comparison to some of the other leagues or things like that, but this is also a massive increase from what we've seen previously in the league.
Oh yeah, it's grown since it was first introduced, for sure. But I mean, like, even with like Alyssa Thompson, right? We saw like that multi-team trade that took place. Angel City ultimately making a couple of moves that utilized allocation money, and all of a sudden $450,000 to get that number one pick for Thompson. So it's an interesting component. Always interested to see how it kind of evolves year to year. And it just 2019 doesn't feel that long ago, and yet this has changed pretty rapidly since its introduction. The under 18 mechanism officially in place for the league as well. We got to see that kind of go into action as players have been signed, and that was something that didn't necessarily exist in years prior, but now it does. So in place in 2022, we've seen it utilized with Washington Spirit and now San Diego Wave FC. Important to note that within these historic signings, for whether it was Chloe Ricketts or Melanie Barcenas, that they are under 18 players, so they have to, have a contract within 30 days of being placed on the mechanism. Now that they're officially signed, that means they cannot be traded or waived. They cannot be selected in expansion draft processes, which is huge considering the league has expansion on the horizon. So we know Utah Royals is one team. There's another potential team to be announced. Neither of those clubs can select any of these younger players, and any under 18 players have to stay with a parent or a legal guardian until they are 18. So the 18th birthday. So it's there's a lot of different rules that have to be followed, even within the under 18 mechanism. But it sounds like that's not going to stop clubs from trying to sign local or young talents in the future, because we've already got a couple of players signing up in the league this year, and who knows, maybe we'll get to see them during the regular season and get their first minutes as professionals, and we're excited about that because the league also announced with CBS the official broadcast schedule and how games are going to look moving forward, and we are so excited about this. The season does kick off on March 25th, and you can catch matches across CBS Sports platforms. You can catch them on Paramount Plus. San Diego Wave versus Chicago Red Stars, you can catch that on CBS Sports Network. But there's 176 matches that fans can watch across CBS Sports platforms. You'll love to see it.
It is amazing. It's going to be accessible to everyone. And as we talked about, it's also accessible for internationals. Canada is able to watch. It is fantastic. But every single game is going to be across CBS Sports platform. 6 matches on CBS and Paramount Plus, 23 matches on CBS Sports Network, and then every other game on Paramount Plus. So you've gotten into a little bit of a rhythm last year watching them, but it'll be more consistent and better to find, I think, when you're on the Paramount Plus app. I know from behind the scenes, CBS people have been working really hard to make sure it's a very seamless transition for fans and viewers that want to do that to easily find it. And this was, as we talked about, for Commissioner Jessica Berman's listening tour, players saying, hey, production value, we want to get that up. That includes 6 cameras. That includes CBS getting these games on CBS Sports platform every single game. It is very cool. And for those that are looking to watch, it all starts Paramount Plus, March 25th. NWSL, you can watch everything, and Paramount Plus is giving away 1 free month. Use the code NWSL 2023 to get 1 free month of Paramount Plus. Catch the first month of action. We are excited to be part of it and excited to be talking about it here at CBS.
Yeah, we are. We're just eager to hit the ground running, obviously, with the regular season coming up. We just want to give a quick shout out before we take a quick break. Shout out to all of the new analysts and broadcasters who are going to be linking up on some of these broadcasts as well. Jackie O, Lilian Sanderson, Tommy Miola, Saskia Weber, amongst them. There were many more, but we just want to extend our congratulations to them. You can hear them across these awesome streaming networks and channels as well. We're going to be back right after a quick break because we've got a little bit more to touch on the international side of news and notes. So stick with us.
Meanwhile, on Paramount Mountain.
Okay, we have the northern face, the southern face, and
the Sylvester Stallone face. Of course.
Hey, how you doing? How you doing?
Is that Dad? Yeah.
No, don't sneeze.
Dear God, no.
Hold it.
Hold it.
Don't do it. Don't. Ha! Gesundheit.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, let's chat about it. International news and notes segment here. And unfortunately, we're kicking it off with a couple of injuries. I hate it. I don't like it. Loathe it. Don't want it. But we got to chat about it. We're going to start off with injury news to Jeanine Beckie out of Portland Thorns. The Canadian international suffered a torn ACL during preseason tournament. Hated to see that news break, and just really terrible timing. And someone, I think at this point of the year, when you're looking at certain international programs, you can look at certain players and say, okay, look, player X, Y, or Z is a near lock to padlock to go and represent their nation in the upcoming World Cup. I think when you look at Canada's national team roster, Jeanine Beckie is absolutely one of those players. So I don't know, when we look at these types of injuries, I think people try to grasp for like, what does it all mean, and these silver linings and within them, if you can find them. But Jeanine Beckie is a very special player and person. And I just anticipate that she's just going to play a different role for this team, both Portland Thorns and Canadian national team. She's just going to play a different role for them moving forward. It's just not going to be on the pitch. Yeah.
It is literally so sad. It makes me heartbroken. Everything that this player did last year for Portland Thorns, and how hard Jeanine Beckie worked in the offseason, understanding that this was going to be such a big year for her, with the Thorns looking to go back to back, and then with Canada looking to win the Olympics in 2021 in Tokyo, and then win this World Cup. There was just a lot of bright lights for this player this year, and really, really devastating. It happened in about a week ago, actually, in a preseason game for Portland. It wasn't great to watch everything that happened. And then when you see a player go down, everyone collectively watching, both teams, both fans, both countries, right? A lot of Americans upset about this, holding their breath. And then Beckie ultimately making a statement on social media to kind of confirm everything, that it was her ACL. I actually I was in Canada when she made this announcement and when it happened, and all over Canadian Sports Center, they talked about this and how much of an impact, which, I mean, you and I know, Sandra, but for those that maybe don't follow Canadian national team as closely, but this was a player that, yes, on the pitch was incredibly influential in this team's success in Canada, but off the pitch, she was being one of the very, very vocal leaders in Canada's fight for equality and fight for pay and fight for everything that they were looking to do with their federation. And I don't think that spirit will go anywhere for this player, and she will continue to be a fight and a voice and a face for this fight for this federation. But really speedy recovery to Jeanine Beckie, prayers and thoughts with her, because it sucks. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, 100%. There's no way it's sugarcoating it, really. It's an important point that you make. It's sort of what I meant by saying, you know, Beckie's going to play a little bit of a different role for the team moving forward. I mean, when the players wanted to hold an emergency press conference, it was Beckie that was running that media call. I sat on that call, and she was the one introducing players and interacting with media and calling on them for questions. And we're starting to see players give statements in legal settings, and Beckie, one of these players among them. And I would anticipate that that might be the role that she's going to go ahead and resume.
I think she will
continue that fight for the team when they're unable to.
Exactly. Yeah, she's outspoken. She's knowledgeable. She's great at communicating, not only amongst her teammates and being a leader in that sense on the team, but also outwardly speaking. And she worked and helped cover the World Cup for Canadian TSN for Qatar. She worked as a bit of an analyst and a communicator. So she's got that spirit about her that's not going anywhere. And I think that'll stay, and that'll help continue Canada's fight for equality. And before you know it, she'll be back for sure.
Yeah, we also have to chat a little bit about an injury to Lena Oberdorf. A little bit different, a knee injury as well, but it's been confirmed that it's actually a right knee sprain. Sprains can be kind of tricky depending
Yeah.
on the grade of sprain that they are. But it's for that reason she was not going to participate with the UEFA Women's Champions League quarterfinals. That's actually going to take place on Wednesday night. So make sure you
Yes.
tune into those against PSG, but unavailable for those. But I think even depending on the grade of sprain that it could be, you're maybe taking a little bit of a breath of relief, because this is not a player that you want to lose for club, and it's definitely not a player that you want to lose for Germany heading into a World Cup. So
Yeah, no,
hopefully,
it's devastating for sure.
yeah, hopefully the next update we get on her is going to be like an update in terms of a timeline and a table
Exactly.
when she'll return. But another bit of international news that we wanted to touch upon that we were having some conversation about off mic in terms of where we should slot it in, because it does count as NWSL news, but it was a bit of news that we wanted to talk about, delicately, because it's such an unfortunate scenario. We want to chat a little bit about a player that folks might be familiar with, because we've had them as a guest on our show before. We want to talk a little bit about Scarlett Camberos, and she is going to make her departure from Club America in Liga MX Feminil. Within a statement that was dropped late last night, an official communication from Club America, they highlighted a very terrible ongoing situation with Camberos. She essentially is a victim of digital violence, has had someone stalking her, for lack of a better word, for quite some time. It has been an absolute nightmare and unfortunate set of scenarios. Hacked social accounts. Very, very, very difficult time for this player out in Club America, and everything just essentially coming to a head. Camberos just no longer feeling safe, to play with the club, and despite Club America's best efforts to try to ensure that this player is indeed safe, and trying to work with Mexican authorities, unfortunately, there's just not a lot out there within Mexican legal processes to ensure that digital violence can be accounted for. So essentially, this person who had hacked her accounts and had been stalking her was held in jail, but only for a certain amount of time. I think it was like a day and a half. So just not, it's come to a head, and you have to respect the player in this sense, and that they no longer feel safe, and they want to do something to try to make sure that they can continue their playing career but always feel safe. So within this official communication out of Club America, they noted that within the processes that they've been working with Camberos and the authorities, they are also in communication with Angel City FC. So this is officially, it's on the internet. It's on an official club statement. So it sounds like Scarlett Camberos will go to Angel City.
Yeah.
It is not the set of circumstances in which you want to celebrate this type of player announcement, but when they do make it official, that's going to be a massive get for Angel City.
Massive. Yeah, I mean, I think you said it perfectly. Like, how scary to be a player like Scarlett Camberos, who's dealing with this, not only stalking but the hacking, and to not at all feel safe. And the fact that the Liga MX Feminil club is saying, okay, we want to protect you. We want to make sure that you can feel safe. So not the circumstances that we would want to have Scarlett Camberos come to the NWSL, but I think for fans that have been watching her in Liga MX Feminil and have seen her, I mean, we had the pleasure of interviewing her on Attacking Third, is a tremendous human and a great player, a great soccer player. The fact that she could be joining the NWSL, most likely, and Angel City, where she's from, a bit of that homegrown vibe there for Scarlett to get back to LA is fantastic. I mean, circumstances are horrible, and I hope that this player can get the help and support that Camberos needs to kind of move past this mentally, because that's traumatizing.
Yeah.
And the fact that she still wants to play and she wants to get out, and if this is how she gets to Angel City, it's devastating. But hey, she gets to Angel City. We get to watch her in the NWSL now. I think I'm trying to separate the two feelings, right?
Yeah,
Of heartbreak and devastation, and this sucks for this player, and that's horrible. But also, like, this is a great opportunity for Angel City to get a little bit of depth and experience on their roster in Camberos, who is a very great soccer player. She can notch some goals. She's got a little bit of versatility in her bag. But it's out there. It's from one club, but we haven't heard anything from Angel City yet about this transfer.
Yeah, they were one of those teams when we talked about finalizing rosters. One of the 12 clubs that had put out, their dropped rosters, their final rosters for the 2023 season. And again, on the lower side of number 3, like, is there room to get this player in there? I know there's some workarounds there with season-ending injuries, players who might not count towards the roster at the moment, and maybe that's where the loophole is for Camberos to be named to this roster. But I think maybe somewhere in all this, it's a little bit of a full circle moment, I think, for Camberos. I mean, she is a Cali kid. She's from California. She's
went to UC Irvine.
Went to UC Irvine. Like, she's a LA native. So this is like a home. Maybe it's going to be a little bit of a homecoming for her. Yeah. She declared for the NWSL draft, did not get drafted or selected, and started her professional playing career in Liga MX Feminil, and now it seems like she's going to make a return home and into the NWSL. And I'm hopeful that we'll get to see her in some regular season action whenever the official announcement comes into the pipeline. So speaking of other official announcements, we've got some more news to chat about internationally. Let's talk a little bit about FIFA prize money before we close things out here, because we like to talk about dollar bills here on A3. So let's keep talking about dollar bills. FIFA announcing the 2023 FIFA Women's World Cup will have an increase in prize money. It's going to be over $150 million. The prize money is going to rise for the 2023 tournament, and so it's going to be $110 million with an additional $40 million for team preparation money and clubs who release players. So President Gianni Infantino just recently announcing this, and FIFA's intention for equal prize money by the time the 2027 Women's World Cup comes around. So that's going to be an even bigger number perhaps on the horizon for this tournament.
Yeah, this is massive. Announcing this, that the prize money over $150 million for this one, which is fantastic, honestly, with how everything is going. It allows for some of these other nations, right, to kind of build up and to get there, but we're still not there, right? We're still not quite there, because the prize money at the Men's World Cup in Qatar was $440 million. So we're getting there. And the fact that it's being increased for 2023 and the equal prize money should be there by 2027. It's coming. They're getting there. Big news for now, but we're not there yet.
It's the deep sigh for me from you, buddy. Same here, same feeling, same vibe. But look, they essentially put a little bit of a timeline on it and a little bit of a deadline. So that means got to hold those feet to the fire. We want to see that happen in 2027. So hopefully we get some more updates on that.
Forever from now. It
feels like it, but it's not. It's literally just going to be the next cycle. It's literally just going to be that. So we'll see. Hopefully they'll get that update in sooner rather than later. Because in the meantime, we're going to keep celebrating the NWSL regular season returning this weekend. Opening weekend is going to kick off on March 25th. Paramount Plus is your home for the 2023 NWSL season. Please don't forget, Paramount Plus is giving a free month to kickstart your NWSL season. So make sure you use promo code NWSL 2023. Okay, NWSL 2023 for one free month on Paramount Plus. Let's go. Thanks everybody for listening to Attacking Third. That's all we've got for you today. Download, follow, listen to us anywhere you get your podcasts. You can watch us too. Subscribe at youtube.com/attacking third. And we will be back with more NWSL content for you all this week. We've got it rolling out every single day leading up to the regular season. For Sandra and Lisa Roman, this was Attacking Third.